Hightower.
Hightower. There he is.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Whoa, good evening, everyone. Tough crowd. We have members of the Trace Elementary School Safety Patrol here tonight to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, as well as to meet all the board members. But before that, the advisor for that committee is Annette McGath. She's a physical education teacher at Trace Elementary School. Annette?
Thank you, Mr. Rector. Hello. Thank you, first of all, for acknowledging these students. We have about 30 students on our safety patrol. Many of them could be here tonight because March Madness apparently is next at elementary school. As well as college practices, playoff games, and some honestly just couldn't get transportation. I think, as most of you I'm certainly are aware, we I think have, I would suggest, the most diverse of the 7 elementary schools. We have 200 students came to us from Taxanosa this year, another 30 or 40 from Palmer, a handful from Shawnee and March. And it's important to me that these students are, their leadership qualities are being acknowledged tonight, because that's hard. You know, it's hard, and these kids have come from these different schools, and they've melded so nicely. They've become friends, they support each other, and I'll tell you, I'm very glad that I transferred over to Tracy this year, because it's really been a pleasure to watch. It's actually been inspiring to watch these kids. You know, it's one thing to be a role model to kindergartners and first graders. It's another thing to be a role model to your peers, to do the right thing. You know, when your other friends are goofing around, you're doing the right thing. That's important, and I think it's important that we acknowledge that. I'm not the only one that chooses the safety patrol. The kids do apply for the position. The classroom teachers, the office staff, the specialist teachers, all the teachers are special, but the specialists, I should say, they have some say. The cafeteria staff, the custodial staff, you name it. They have a say in how these kids are chosen, and they start their day on the bus. You know, monitoring proper bus behavior, helping kindergartners get off the bus properly, modeling good behavior in the hallways, the cafeteria, the classroom, getting their work done, escorting kindergartners to the buses after school, okay, making sure they get on the proper bus. And like I said, just modeling the proper behavior in front of your peers, I think that's important. I think it's good that we acknowledge that, these kids. They're a terrific group of kids. They're very responsible. They're our hope. You know, we look at these kids, they're our future. They're why we have hope in the future. It's why we do what we do every day. So thank you so much for acknowledging them. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
Thank you.
For having him here.
Yes. All right.
Stand up and give everyone in the pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you say their names? I'm sorry. Emma, Josh, AJ, and Andrew. I'm sorry, Josh.
Nice to meet you.
Great job. How are you doing?
Yeah, Buster, make that great.
Okay. That's
Just like the horse and buggy. All right, number 2, superintendent's report, Mr. Reinhardt.
Yes, Mr. President and board members, I would just like to begin by sharing with you the excitement that my wife and I felt when we went to the high school and saw the musical production this year, as well as the middle school and their musical production. Those are very special events in both of those buildings, and both Judy and I felt that they became more special this year due to the talent and the dedication and the time that people obviously put into these productions. I'm really hoping that the Easton High School production will gain some notice a little later this spring by acknowledging some extremely talented people and acknowledging the creativity that I think was on display for everybody who was in the auditorium for their production of Anything Goes. The middle school production was just fantastic, and I think it rates up there in one of the best middle school productions that I've ever seen. And it was Disney's The Lion King, and it always helps if you've got a familiar program of music and songs and so forth. But the spirit of that really did catch, and they had a huge audience. So I was really glad to see so many parents and family members come out to support both of those shows. I sent out a communication to the staff today listing a lot of the accomplishments of our athletes this past season. Winter sports is over now, and we're getting ready to start spring sports, and you're going to get a report from our athletic director, but it was a very successful winter season for lots of our teams and lots of our students as individuals. And once again, it's important for us to acknowledge the coaching staff members that contribute so much time to these and make these experiences throughout the year so very important for our students. Again, my wife and I went to Steel Stacks and saw our jazz band compete with jazz bands from around the region in their annual jazz band competition. And they were up against some very talented groups, but our band has been selected as a finalist in that competition. And with that comes an opportunity for the jazz band to perform with some big name entertainers down at the Sands. So we've got kids this past winter, over the past 8 weeks, who have been doing some remarkably great things, and I just feel the need to brag a bit about that and share that with you. Next, I would like to introduce a special guest. We have Ms. Mila Hayes, who is here from PSBA, and she would like to introduce herself more formally and talk about PSBA with our board.
Sure,
Welcome.
thank you. Good evening, Board of Directors and Superintendent Reinhardt. My name, again, is Mila Hayes, and I am the new Member Services Manager for the Southeast region. I have two roles, particularly. To be your field manager, I actually work out in the Montgomery County area. I have a home office in Montgomery County area. And also, I want to help you make sure you maximize your use in PSBA services. So tonight, I placed some packets on your desk. I'm sure you can read them at your convenience. But I'm going to highlight just a few services. It will take about 5 minutes. Thank you for, again, inviting me this evening. So I just want to share just a few services tonight. PSBA offers a number of human services, or human resource services, I'm sorry. And it is set to really support the Board of Directors. It's set up to really support the Board of Directors. Compensation studies. If you are perhaps up for contract negotiations, we provide comprehensive compensation studies. It is an excellent service to you, and it is available to you. Job descriptions. We also provide a number of job descriptions. I'm sure your HR department would love to hear that we also support you in that endeavor. Our job descriptions are reviewed by our legal team, so they are paperless, in fact. And ultimately, they are submitted through our Career Gateway. And I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but it's a great opportunity for you to submit those. You get talented, qualified candidates. And of course, if you're looking for a qualified candidate, you are welcome to look through that Career Gateway as well. We also provide executive search services. Not that you're up for that, but we certainly provide executive search services for superintendent and assistant superintendent positions. Again, a very comprehensive support, that PSBA service that PSBA offers. Also, we provide, and I don't know if you've ever participated in our board self-assessments, but our board self-assessments are a really neat tool because it actually helps you measure how effective you are as a board of directors. It is an excellent tool. It also helps you identify, okay, what are the gaps? What do you want to improve upon? Certainly, it is an excellent tool. It's offered to you as well. I hope that if you are interested, certainly you can let me know at a later time. Also, we also provide policy management. I'm sure you're aware. We've been doing this since the 1970s, in fact. Again, that's reviewed by a legal team. It certainly helps you, as a governing board, continue to be in compliance with both state and federal law. We also provide grant directories. Certainly, as you continue to increase your programs and services to your student body, we have a grant directory that you can look into. And of course, there may be maybe a STEM program that you'd like to actually look through and see if there's some funding in the grant directory. Great resource. And then finally, advocacy services, and I'll share this because this is where my heart is. In my former life, I worked with the state representative, and it is absolutely critical, especially in this climate, to stay connected to your legislators, as you all know. PSBA is hosting an actual walk on the Capitol on April 24th. More information will go out to you, as a matter of fact. And it is a great opportunity for you to meet your legislators, share all the great things that you share tonight, and certainly maybe share some of your challenges or some of your insights about what you like to see with your school district or public education. A great opportunity to meet your legislators. It is important for you, of course you know that, to be in front of them as much as you can so that they remember your name when it's time to certainly create legislation. So that was it. I just wanted to highlight those services and introduce myself to you. Again, I am accessible to you. My card is in all of your packets. Please contact me via cell. You have my cell number as well as my email address. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just a quick update.
Yeah, I wanted to just, if I could, Mr. President, ask Mrs. Amelia if she would announce some future changes in the school calendar to make up for the snow days that we had recently.
Sure. Due to the snow days last week, we are going to bring the school calendar to the board for a special voting meeting prior to the committee meeting in April. We wanted to announce it this evening just to get it out there. We are going to be replacing the April 13th in-service with a student day. And then June 7th, 8th, and 9th are make-up student days. The 7th was already one from the prior snow day that we had, and then the 8th and 9th will be made up as student days. Teacher in-service will be held then on June 12th and 13th. So we will be sending that out as a draft proposed calendar to keep everyone informed, but then the vote will take place at a special meeting prior to the April committee meeting.
Thank you.
And could we just tack on there our date set for graduation so we can...
That is June 12th. Monday,
June 12th is what we set aside for graduation. I can see by the smiles on the faces of the that that's going to be a very, very important date for you. I can tell that. Good.
Just an update for the agenda. We are deleting letter E, 11E, under academics. We're only going to have one DJ for the time on the 31st.
So eliminating E, did you
So
say?
we're eliminating E. We're only going to vote on one DJ, which is D.
That's a, you take There's three of them, but there's two are for one event, one's the other one. The other one's the prom. One's the prom.
All right, at this time, we're going to conduct 2 interviews for a Region 3 school director to fill the position of Mr. Monahan, who moved out of the district. First up, we have Miss Meg Seago. Mr. Sims, if you will step out in the hallway, just for a few minutes. Thank you. Does anybody know what happened to Mr. Vanderbilt? What doors he shut?
That's the problem.
There you go. Let's not let that up.
Shut your car door?
You run out and get your water and your coffee.
Can we please set the clock for 5 minutes? Michelle, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. I want to start tonight by saying thank you to the members of the board, administration, and the community for allowing me to introduce myself. My name is Meg Seago. I grew up in Nazareth, but I've lived in Easton for the last 15 years. My father grew up in Easton and attended March Elementary School, which is particularly meaningful to me as my son is in first grade there this year and my daughter will be entering kindergarten next year at March. My mother also taught in the Easton School District for 30 years in the English department at the high school, and I started my own professional teaching career at Easton High School as well in the history department. I am now a school librarian at Lehigh Valley Academy, where I've been for the past 12 years. During that time, I've had the opportunity to build a library program from the ground up. I have developed the middle school level Spring Challenge reading competition, which is held annually for area schools, actually at Easton High School, and will be taking place next week. And I also serve as the elected director of the IU20 Professional Development Group for school and public librarians. I want to serve on the Easton Area School Board out of a desire to have a positive impact on my local community. I have no personal agenda to fulfill other than to do my part to ensure a successful educational experience for all children in the Easton School District. There are, however, areas that I am especially interested in focusing on, should I be given the opportunity to serve. Those include improving the visibility of the academics and arts programs in Easton, increasing the Easton Schools' competitiveness in a school choice environment, and supporting libraries and student health and wellness efforts. As both a parent and an educator, I believe I have experience and a perspective that will be valuable to the board. If appointed, I look forward to working with members of the community, teachers, administrators, and the board to grow together. I am happy to address any concerns or answer any questions you might have. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board for this?
I have one.
Yes.
So you taught here at the high school. You
Yes.
started here, and you decided to choose to leave to go to a charter school. Go ahead. You know where I'm going with it?
No, please finish the question.
So what was the reason behind that? I guess my question is, if you were in the public education, you went to a charter school, which is very competitive for us.
I I actually left Easton High School not directly to go to Lehigh Valley Academy. I left to pursue my master's degree in library science because I was certified as a history teacher first. And I did that. It was a 2-year program full-time. When I finished the program, there were no library openings in Easton to be hired back to. And I've been at Lehigh Valley Academy ever since. Thank you. Sure.
Sister, I got a question.
Sure.
A major thing that we're dealing with in public education is trying to fight for funding reform for charter schools. Being that you receive your paycheck from charter schools, how would that, how do you feel that would impact you on the board while we're trying to fight for funding reform and you benefit from the funding?
Well, I do think that, first of all, I do believe that there is a place for a limited number of nonprofit, well-run charter schools. The issue, of course, is the concern related to funding. And legislators in Harrisburg created the charter school system. It is no doubt detrimental to public schools, to traditional public schools, and that is a problem that Harrisburg needs to solve, and I would be glad to work towards those efforts. I also feel that there's a lot that the Easton schools could do to be competitive in this environment. We have wonderful schools to be proud of, and we need to work to attract students to our schools just the way, private and charter schools also do.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Would you like me to step out now?
Yes,
Also,
please.
I'll go there.
Thank you.
No, I don't know. But you're 10.
I'll put on my running shoes.
She needs to sit down. We did it that way.
Because you have 3 people. You have 3 people.
What day is it today? Is it my birthday or something? I'm getting like, I'm getting roasted. Yeah, thank I remember.
Mr. Oakley, going forward, any candidates outside Maryland, Mrs. Way back. Mr. Sims, how are you?
Very well, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. All right, at this moment, we have 5 minutes on the clock, and we're going to hear from Mr. Jason Sims.
Well, first, thank you to the members of the board for having me here, and thank you especially to Ali Ramirez for her logistical support in coordinating all of this. During one of my first days at work at Lafayette College, my supervisor mentioned to me that he would be attending the high school football game that Friday. I thought this was interesting, since anywhere I've lived, attendance at football games was generally limited to students and parents. I was confused, knowing his only child was not yet even in high school, so I asked why he was going. To which he responded that around here, football games are pretty big events. As is, I've come to learn, the annual Thanksgiving bonfire, which this year was apparently so large that its heat broke some windows at the school. And if that's not school spirit, then I'm not exactly sure what is. So this was my first exposure to the rich, robust, and strong community that makes up the Easton Area School District. As the parent of a special needs child, I have subsequently continued to see this remarkable community in action at my local school, March Elementary, as they work together with our family to devise and improve an educational program for our son, Connor. I have witnessed, through my son's ongoing progress, the wonderful work teachers, assistants, the principal, and the district have accomplished. In my role as a Cub Scout leader, I engage with youths representing the breadth of schools within the district, and I am constantly surprised at how frequently parents discuss activities going on at their respective schools. and the extent to which they actively participate and volunteer with them. From larger events such as the computer science teacher at Easton Area High School who leads the Code for Kids community event each year, down to smaller ones such as my wife and others manning the dollar book sale at local elementary schools. I quickly decided that I wanted to be heavily involved with the vibrant school community, and coupled with my interest in governance and public education, I felt strongly that being a part of the school board would be an excellent way to achieve this. As you all well know, issues facing the board are complex, ranging from school funding, curriculum, school choice, infrastructure, and more. I am confident that my professional and academic background will allow me to contribute to these issues and make me an excellent choice for the position. I have worked for over 20 years within the IT industry, 15 of which have been in higher education. During that time, I earned a bachelor's in classics, a master's in anthropology, a master of public health and environmental health, and a doctorate in applied anthropology. I have served on a board of directors before, as well as on a variety of steering committees. As a result, I am comfortable with their associated responsibilities, such as budgets, committee work, community engagement, and public communication. I have extensive experience designing and analyzing surveys, conducting focus groups, and in general gathering and synthesizing data from a variety of stakeholders. In addition, several years ago, I developed a graduate level course aimed at K-12 teachers that explores connections between communities and schools, examining cultural, political, and economic factors that contribute to school, learner, and educator success. Teaching this course has provided both me and my students direct insights into day-to-day struggles and victories within both public and private school systems. And yet, my specific strengths are secondary to my commitment to the district and my passion to ensure we provide the best quality public education possible. Each of us has a vested interest and a continued interest in an educated society, which begins with our children. I look forward to working with other members of the board, Superintendent Reinhardt, and all the teachers, administrators, parents, and community members as I serve the diverse interests of Region 3 as a member of this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sims.
Thank you.
Does anyone from the board have any questions for Mr. Sims? None? Can someone ask Ms. Sayogo to come back in, please? Not.
So he didn't yell my last.
Thank you.
He was quick
Mr. Sims, some of our students are here who caused our windows to
Excellent. Nice. That was impressive. I don't think where I grew up we were going to allow bonfire on school property, so it's quite
All right. First, on behalf of the board and the administration, we would like to thank Ms. Sayago and Mr. Sims for their willingness to come forward and seek appointment to the vacant seat on the board. At this time, we're going to move to number 4, nomination of candidate. And letter A, would somebody on the board like to make a nomination for Region 3 School Director?
I'd like to nominate Jason Sims.
We have a nomination for Mr. Sims. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Price, a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, I didn't see your lips move. I don't know what you guys. I'm just letting you guys go. Are you thinking? It's only yes or no.
We should have more time to look over this, especially now since we see the candidates in person, heard them. Is that possible?
No.
No.
Actually, Mr. Obi, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote because I don't know the roll call. So we have a motion and a second for Mr. Sims, and Ms. Ramirez is going to do a roll call vote.
Mr. Shannon?
Aye.
Mr. Fano?
Yes.
Ms. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Obi?
No.
Ms. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderberg?
Yeah.
Dwight?
Yes.
Yes. 8-1 for Mr. Sims. Mr. Sims, congratulations. Please come up. Today you'll be sworn in. Tomorrow you'll be sworn out. Ms. Seidel, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you on the ballot in November or in April 1st. Mr. Sims, can you come up right here to
Person of the solicitor for the district on behalf of the delegated authority of the board president, I'm going to swear you in on your right hand. I state your name.
I, Jason Sims,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to number 6, reports. IU20, Ms. Price.
Okay, first of all, in February, several students from the IU traveled to Easton to participate in the Sister Plunge. And so it was a beautiful day, but I thought the water was very cold to participate in the Lehigh Valley Polar Plunge. And it supported the Special Olympics of Pennsylvania. The IU board at the last meeting continues to update the policy manual and approved the proposed general operating budget that we'll be voting on. And on April 27th, the 2017 Excellence Education Award will be held at Blue, and there are some winners that come from Easton, so we'll find out who those are. And that's basically it right now. So our meeting is tomorrow, and that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Is there anyone from the Easton Public Library? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ernest Schaefer. I'm currently the Vice President of the Board of Trustees of the Easton Area Public Library. Thank you for having me here this evening. It's good to be here. I want to share just a few highlights of the library's work over the past month. The Easton Area Public Library is participating in the Pennsylvania Library Association's new PA, or Pennsylvania 21st Century Literacy Initiative, which is called Pennsylvania Forward, and STAR Library Program. For public libraries like EAPL, this program will help them to better serve their communities through, among other things, offering resources of various sorts to help people in our communities increase and improve their basic literacy, their information literacy, their civic literacy, their health literacy, and their financial literacy. Those 5 very important literacies. The STAR Library Program is one in which participating libraries earn bronze, silver, and gold stars by demonstrating that they have in place and are making available the programs and resources needed to help folks in their communities improve their skills in these 5 literacy categories. And recently, Easton Area Public Library earned the bronze star, and we're now working toward our silver star. Second, 'tis the season not to be jolly, but to make out your tax return. And so AARP is once again offering its services free of charge to those who qualify for assistance, free tax assistance at the main library on Tuesday mornings. I believe the hours are 9 to 1. With the help of volunteers, we have completed scanning photos from the Palmer Township Historical Society. You may have seen some of those on Lehigh Valley Live a couple of weeks ago, particularly the 25th Street area. Many, many changes over the years. We've had several opportunities to work with Lafayette College. We're working with the college on a grant. Students have toured the library and are using a class of students from from Lafayette taking a course, are using the March Room for research, and once again the free tutoring program for Easton area students is up and running with student volunteers from the college. And I have saved the best for last, rather like dessert, is meal. This past Saturday, we were pleased to offer the 4th Young Adult Author and Book Fest at Oliver Palmer Branch. This event has grown and grown over the years that we have operated. It brings together teens, or if you prefer, young adults, with authors who write for that particular age group. This year we had more than 300 people attend. 40 authors came at their own expense, some from as far away as Canada and Florida, and we had a list of 30 additional authors who wanted to come, but whom we had to refuse because the Palmer Library is only so big, and there are firewalls. The YA Fest team, led by Stephanie Sapinski, our branch manager, worked with Easton High Humanities teacher Ms. Kapichi, and 3 members of the school newspaper staff, Erica Correa, Sarah Yee, and Brittany Adams. I hope I pronounced all those names correctly. And we're very grateful for their help. The day included a meet and greet for the authors with a brunch, a ticketed event for teens who had either volunteered for the fest or who wrote reviews of books written by authors who came to the fest so that they could meet them one-on-one. The doors were open to the public at 1 p.m. for the teens and any parents who came along to meet and mingle with the authors, to purchase books, to have books signed, to take part in a book raffle. Reps from other school districts came to see how we do this and expressed interest in either working with us on future fests or doing their own fests in their own school districts. The YA Fest team was asked by a number of teens to consider starting up a teen writing group at the Palmer Branch, and this will be considered. The feedback that we get on these events is tremendous. At the end of the event, there's a survey. The authors who have participated fill out the survey. They all say this is one of the best things they've ever come to. Can we please come again the next time? Please keep us on your mailing list and keep us on your email list and so on. What they get out of course, they sell books. But what they really appreciate the most is the opportunity to meet the people for whom they are writing. And that they say is absolutely wonderful. So we hope to be able to continue to hold one of these events about every 18 months. And on that high note, I end my report, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Letter C, CIT. Ms. Hess, Mr. Vandenberg, or Ms. Weiss?
I just have a quick report. So CIT is in the process. It's not final yet. This is the draft. I think they're close to being final. Putting together a secondary program course guide. And I think we are going to have this up on our website as soon as it's finalized. So it's quite interesting to see not only all the components of each program, but the qualifications, the authenticity of each of these programs. It's quite exciting, actually. That's it.
Thank you. Community College, Mr. Faber.
We had a very short meeting, but some of the information that gets shared is always interesting. We recognize the staff that is coming up to our appointments and or what they call standard appointments or promotions. Standard appointments there are the same as tenure would be in the school district. After they complete X amount of years, they would be expected to receive that, and if not, then it would be time to move on. And we always have a few every year. The next thing we had talked about was the government landscape. After I tell you this, you can ignore letter G down here, too. The same issues occur at the college, concerning what is happening in the federal level and what's happening at the state level, and what the impact is based on on the local level where they talk about the real estate. And still continuing to find out that there's no definite answers or anything at the state level, with the thought that even if one side of the aisle would approve, that's most likely the other side of the aisle would not. There hasn't been much movement in the last couple of months on that, where they thought they would have something prior to this year. Don't hold your breath is what I would say is probably the best answer. And again, then also on the federal level, is still watching and waiting to see what's going to happen. When you look at some of that, as I mentioned last month, they have to do the renewal of some of the programs, i.e. the Perkins program would be one that affects not only the college, but also affects the school district. And so we still haven't seen that renewal occur yet. So those are some of the things that we really got to in-depth discussion. Last but not least, one of the other items that I've highlighted, we always look at not just where the budget is, but and also where the enrollment is. and watching what the trends are based on how the economy's doing and everything. And we're finding that this year, based on the economy, the trends are that enrollment's dropping off. Luckily enough, at Northampton, we're not seeing as much of a drop as some of the other places. Some are seeing 4, 5, 6%, and we're seeing roughly a little bit under 1% right now. So that's telling us, we're holding our own. Plus, we have definite interest of people coming for retraining as well. And that concludes my report. And as I said, you can take G off the list.
Thank you, Mr. Fanning. The Foundation for Eastern Schools, Mr. Buscemi.
Okay, plans for the 4th annual gala and silent auction are in full swing. 60 sponsorship packets have been sent out to local corporations, including vendors of the district. To date, the foundation has received $15,275 in sponsorship commitments towards a goal of $35,000 for this year's event. The gala is the foundation's primary fundraising, and the future of the foundation beyond June 30th, 2017 depends upon the success of this event. RSVPs are slowly coming in for the gala. The deadline is March 31st, so please consider joining us this year to raise money to support the foundation. This year we will be featuring one teacher grant per table. Each table will have a table captain who will promote the grant and encourage guests to make donations to fund the grant. Our goal is to promote our wonderful teachers and their students while raising money to fund their grant requests. The 2016-17 restricted fund report. Many donations are received for specific purposes, and to date, 100% of the monies received have reimbursed the district for the intended program. So far this year, the foundation has raised $57,848 and reimbursed $28,098.59 back to the district. That's the extent of my report.
Thank you. We don't have the Charles Schroeder Science and Technology Initiative report. I'm going to skip that, but I will be asking if someone would like to take that appointment to be the representative at the end of the meeting. Letter H, our Student Council Executive Board President, Mr. Geiger.
Yes, Miss Olivia George. And while she's walking up there, I'd like to congratulate Olivia and her teammates as well as her coaches for the District 11 basketball championship, which we won.
Hi, I'm Olivia George, the Student Council Executive Board President at the high school. Some things going on in the next couple weeks. First of all, we have our mini-thon that was rescheduled to March 21st. That's from 5 to 11 at the middle school now. We just recently had our nominees picked for Eastern Area High School Day Court. Ballots will be going out in the next few weeks, and that will be taking place. The exec board is working to amend our student council constitution. We will be gathering a committee of underclassmen from each grade to try to make some amendments to the Constitution because we found some problems over the past couple weeks. We will be electing our new exec board members for the class of 2018, and that election will take place from April 3rd to April 12th. Our Spring Special Olympics will be at Liberty High School on May 4th. Bus leaves at 8:45, returns at 2. We originally asked for about 50 volunteers, and we need about 4 or 5 more in what we said. Lastly, Mr. Easton, the date is still tentative. It's either going to be April 10th or April 20th. And that depends on when the pit would be able to be there. So, that's it.
Thank you. PTA, Ms. Robertson.
Full house tonight. My name is Michelle Robertson. I'm the president of the Eastern Area PTA Council, Area Council. I have a full report in front of you. I'm just going to mention a couple highlights. Over at the Eastern Area High School, they are gearing up for the prom after party. This is a really big deal for them. This is an opportunity for prom goers to have a place to go after the prom to be safe. You don't have to go to the prom to attend this, but it's been a great event. I know the district is having a dress down day this Wednesday, or tomorrow. So some of the proceeds from that will go towards post-prom. Over at the middle school, I just wanted to mention that we will be having a district-wide Reflections Art celebration. Actually, Shawnee is going to host that this year, and the board will be invited to attend. Over at Forks, I've mentioned a couple times during my reports that many of our schools offer boutiques or stores, if you will, or closets for folks and kids that need, whether it be clothing, hygiene items, etc. Forks just launched theirs, so they are just another one that is trying to help. And they work very closely with guidance and the nurse to find out what the needs are. Over at March, they actually held a candidate night for the Region 3 school board candidates, so it was a great night to come out and meet both of them. Over at Paxinosa, they are trying something new. As many of you know, the Bushkill Park skating rink is open again, so they're going to have their first family fun night over there. So that'll be fun and nostalgic all in one. And over at Shawnee, they wanted to thank everyone who attended Founders Day. The PTA Founders Day is an event that we hold every year. It rotates to one of our 10 schools in the district, and they did a great job. The theme was a passport for success, one voice heard around the world, and they had kids from that school, students from that school, act wax figures, like talking wax figures. So we had one that did one for Mr. Reinhardt, one for Lynn Alexander with our diversity crew. So it was just a really, really neat night. And then finally, at Tracy, I wanted to give everybody a heads up and to mark your calendar. On May 19th, they are going to be doing something brand new. It's going to be a cultural and diversity event. So there's one family there that has stepped up to sponsor this, and they're going to showcase food, clothing, and history of 25 to 30 countries. So it's going to be a fantastic event. Depending on how that goes, we may roll this out district-wide through council next year. So they're kind of our guinea pig, getting everything together. But it'll be a very cool event, and I know Mr. Hightower is on board with that and is encouraging the teachers as well. And that's my report.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone here from EAEA? How about the bus drivers? Number 7, anyone from the public who would like to be heard on agenda items only? Agenda items only from the public? All right, seeing none. I have a motion to accept the executive session report as listed. Second? Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Number 9, can I have an motion to approve the minutes? Second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Which minutes were these from?
Minutes from the last meeting, correct? Mr. Ramirez? February 7th and the 21st. All those in favor? Opposed? Number 10, personnel. I'm going to take A through L, 11, A, B, C, D, and F, 12, A to D, 13, A, B, C, and D, and 14, A, B, and C. Can I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yes, I just need to say that for the activity 3, I think there's still discrepancies between job responsibilities and salary in comparison to salary.
Any other comment?
And I'll be voting no on that. Ally, you know, that's what I just
All those in favor? Opposed?
No, for just the Act 93.
I'm going to go back. Mr. Brado, he's approached the podium. Mr. Brado, we just approved your list of coaches that are going to be assisting you in this upcoming season. And if you'd like to introduce them. And you told me today you're going to have a meet and greet with the community.
Yes, we are. Yes, next Wednesday the 29th in the auditorium at the high school from 7:30 to 8:30. We're going to have a Meet the Coaches night where, I'll speak about the program. I'll introduce our assistant coaches, and the varsity club will be there, and our booster club will be there. We're going to contact the media. I think it'll be a great way to promote our program and to get people to get to know the guys that are going to be with our boys for hopefully a long time.
We're going to send Mr. Sims since he's not
used
to this type of football.
I think it's the first time we've had that, so.
Yeah, okay. You guys want to stand up? You can come up here if you want, or you can just stay there. We have Barry Snyder could not make it tonight. He was at they have the Lions Wrestling Classic at the high school, so he's there with the wrestling team, and he will remain the head freshman football coach. George Wary is going to be the assistant freshman football coach. Mike Palos is going to be one of our varsity assistant coaches. He's going to be our quarterbacks coach, and he's also going to help out with the secondary. Brian Gomer is going to be our varsity line coach. Scott Ordway is going to be our offensive coordinator, and he'll also work with our secondary guys. And Brian Falcone will be our defensive coordinator, and he'll also work with our linebackers as well. Oh, Mr. Jones, I didn't. Sorry. They were all sitting together. I know. We came. Mr. Jones, I'm sorry. Dean Jones is going to be our head JV coach this year, and welcome him to the staff as well. These are great guys, and I'm glad you guys approved them. I wanted to. Hey, and there's Jesse Pellegrino. Okay, I didn't see him down the hallway there. He will remain as an assistant 7th and 8th grade coach with us. And again, I wanted to surround myself with guys who are great role models for our kids. And once people get to know these guys, and I know a lot of people know them already, they're great people. And I just wanted to mention something which I think is pretty unique. And we talked at the last board meeting, and my focus is, a big focus is on education and pushing our kids with their education along with football. And I just wanted you guys to know that when the staff is finished and volunteers are approved, we will have 8 National Scholar athletes that will be coaches on our staff, which I think is pretty impressive. So these guys know what's important as far as student athletes go, and these are the guys that I wanted to be with our boys. So,
awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Great job.
Thank you.
Sorry, Dean. Rudy Miller, I hope you are going to write that story tonight. In the camera.
Okay.
He's watching from home. All right, number 15. Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard on non-agenda items only? Non-agenda items only from the public? Mr. Timmons. Excuse me.
Pass it around. I brought a copy of an outstanding invoice that the district has. Due to the extreme disregard of the law that this administration has in regards to Act 22 of the PA Code 44, the general policy in regarding state testing, I was extremely inconvenienced when I showed up and was refused my legal right to view the Keystone exam prior to it being taken by my son to see if it fit in with our philosophical or religious beliefs. This order came from Mr. Cook through Mr. Geiger, as was relayed to me. I was forced to go make a second trip after spending a good deal of time on the phone with Harrisburg Mr. John Weiss, who is the Pennsylvania Department of Education Chief of the Division of Performance Analysis and Reporting, who explained to me that I am by law authorized to view this test, as it states, at the parent's convenience, not the district's, the parent's convenience, and up to 2 weeks prior, up to the day after the first day of the testing. That includes PSSA testing and Keystone testing. I was within this time frame. I was denied my right as per request. And at which point, I don't believe that the district understands or the board understands just how rampant the administration is in their disregard of the public, the parents, and the children's rights and lives and the taxpayers' money. Where the district will think nothing is spending thousands to tens of thousands of dollars on individual student athletes for equipment, bus transportation, and other things of that nature, but will not be willing to spend a dime on academically gifted students. The district will waste thousands of dollars in order to avoid a few $100s in a mutually agreeable settlement for gifted students, which causes parents to seek due process hearings, which causes the district to have to pay for their lawyer and hearing time, along with witness time and everything else that the district will have to pay for. The district has a strict my way or the highway policy when negotiating with parents. There's no give or take or leeway, as Mr. Reinhardt, Ms. Amelia, and Mr. Cook had performed in a meeting with my son, my wife, and myself in regards to the Keystone and some of the other academic classes. Gifted students, this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand. Gifted students are special needs students. The district is unable and unwilling to support these students, especially when the gifted student is extremely gifted. The district goes out of their way to slow these students down to a level of which they can handle them. The district will only give support to gifted students in areas that they choose to offer support, not in areas of interest to the students. If you have a mathematically gifted student, they're told, well, go into this engineering program over here, or do this or that. If a student is interested in high math, high physics, that the district does not offer, no, once you hit our limit of what we have, that's all we're going to do. That came from Mrs. Amelia. This was direct correspondence back and forth through multiple years with Mr. Reinhardt, Mrs. Amelia, Mr. Cupp, Mrs. Piazza, and numerous other, Dr. Finger, Mrs. Simon, current Mrs. Barber, Mr. First, who's no longer here, and along with other current gifted teachers of my son and guidance counselors. It's ridiculous that the district chooses to turn a blind eye to special needs students just because the word gifted is in there. I hate to tell you, I also have an autistic son, and he is special needs, but he is also gifted, and he is extremely gifted in math. So special needs is not a derogatory term. Special needs goes both ways, up and down. And the district has no qualms and zero interest in trying to help any special needs student that is on their way out. I would appreciate, and I'm sure most of you can get the information from Mr. Reinhardt, Mrs. Amelia, if you're interested in talking with me directly, or I will wait outside afterwards. But I hope, at the very least, I've opened up some of your eyes to the rampant disregard the administration has for the public and the students. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I look at the invoice here, and I just want to be clear. I look at the balance and finance charges for a total of $92.72. Are you charging us for your gas money?
That is my base trip charge.
To come to see your son's test?
No. that I had to make a second trip. I was there the day before. I did not charge the district to come and discuss the GIP and see the test that day. When I was told I had to come a second day, or actually I was flat out refused. I wasn't even told to come back another day. I was flat out refused access to the test. I was told I had to see the test or request to see the test more than 2 weeks prior, when the district doesn't even get the test until 2 weeks prior to it being given. The district is giving these tests only about 2 weeks prior to them being given to the students. And I was told I needed to see it more than 2 weeks prior, and the excuse I was given was, this way I don't go look over the test, memorize it, and go and give my son the answers. Let's be a matter of fact here. This may be a graduation requirement by the state. But these Keystone tests are nothing more than the PSSAs, which is a judge and a test of the school district, not of the individual students. It does nothing for their college requirements or anything else for later on in life. This grades the district. And I participated in the process as by the way the law is written. And I was flat out denied my legal rights and not given a second time to come back. It wasn't until I called Mr. Geiger the following morning and told him I will be there and I will have Mr. Weiss's phone number. Mr. Weiss actually was willing. He came into his office at 7:30. If Mr. Geiger refused to talk to him, or Mr. Cook would have refused to talk to him, and needed to talk to him in order to facilitate my being able to see this test, then I would have called him from my cell phone and put him on speakerphone for Mr. Geiger to hear. And Mr. Weiss is the man in charge overseeing all these tests.
Mr. Chairman, if I can ask, have you entered into litigation against us for this?
No, not yet.
Or you're planning on it if it's not paid?
I want fair and reasonable discord on it.
Okay.
I was willing to forego. Not one person made a phone call, reached out to me when that was personally handed to Mr. Geiger. It went a month without any kind of comment or concern or communication. Late notice went out. I made a phone call, at which point then about a few days later after the phone call and the late notice had been sent out, then the nice lady from the administration building had called me and told me flat out she was told flat out refused payment.
I just want to be clear too that this is not for services rendered, correct? Okay.
It is for, I have a base trip charge. To turn
Well,
on
we
the
didn't call you
ignition
for
on
any
a vehicle.
services to fix locks or anything, correct? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry if you didn't receive a phone call. I assure you, you will receive a phone call tomorrow from Mr. Freund, and he can discuss the matter further with you.
Okay.
Anyone else from the public to be heard on non-agenda items only? Hearing none. At this time, is anyone interested in sitting on the Charles Friend Foundation? Ms. Hess, any objections to that? He can't.
No, I'm on, all right, I can't.
All right, Ms. Ali, Ms. Hess. And what else was Mr. Finance? Vice Chair? Would anybody like to take the position of Finance Vice Chair in Mr. Monahan's absence? Mr. Fainal is the Chair. All right, Ms. Weiss. All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor? Good night.